Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Justin Case, and welcome to Watch Along with Justin Case. Today, we're diving into Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin in an I Quit match. Pain won't stop it, blood won't end it, only those two words decide everything. We're going to watch it together, break it down as it happens, and see if it really lives up to the hype. So now, let's get into it. The bell's about to ring. A wrestling watch-along is where we watch the same match at the same time, and I give live reactions, breakdowns, and commentary while you follow along on your screen. So grab your snacks, hit play, and let's watch along. The date, March 23rd, 1997, Chicago, Illinois, the Rosemont Horizon. Two men walk into Wrestlemania, but only one walks out the same. This isn't just a match. It's not even just a rivalry. It's a collision of eras, identities, and philosophies. On one side, Bret the Hitman Hart, the master technician, the pride of Canada, a man who believes he is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, and feels wrestling should be pure, disciplined, and respected. On the other, you've got Stone Cold Steve Austin, a beer-drinking, rule-breaking, anti-authority brawler who doesn't care about tradition, only winning. And in the middle of it all, Ken Shamrock, the most dangerous man in the world, trying to enforce order in a match that there was never going to have any. What unfolds over the next 20 minutes changes wrestling forever. No championships on the line, no main event billing, just blood, pain, and one of the most iconic double turns in the history of professional wrestling. This is WrestleMania 13. This is Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Bret Hart is the definition of a pure wrestler. Everything he did looked real, made sense, and told a story. That's why he's considered the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. If you're setting the stage for WrestleMania 13, the story behind Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin isn't just about two guys clashing. It's about the entire identity of the WWF shifting right in front of the audience. Going into late 1996, Bret Hart had returned after a hiatus, and he came back as the moral center of the company. In his mind, he was still the standard bearer, the guy who carried WWF through its lean years. He believed in tradition, technical wrestling, respect, but the crowd, they were starting to move on from that. Enter Steve Austin, loud, brash, disrespectful, and completely unapologetic. Austin didn't care about wrestling the right way. He mocked legends, flipped off authority, and most importantly, he called Bret Hart out directly. Not subtly either. He went on TV and basically said Bret was washed up, hiding behind his reputation. At first, Bret didn't even want the fight. He turned down Austin's challenge multiple times. That's important because it made Austin look even more relentless, like a guy clawing his way to the top by targeting the very best. Eventually, Bret snapped. He couldn't ignore it anymore, especially with the fans starting to cheer Austin's rebellion. Their first major clash came at Survivor Series 1996, where Bret narrowly beat Austin, but that didn't settle anything. It actually made things worse. Austin felt robbed, and Bret felt disrespected that this loudmouth wouldn't just accept defeat. From there, the rivalry escalated in a really interesting way. Bret started getting more frustrated, not just with Austin, but with the fans. He'd go out there expecting respect and get boos instead. Meanwhile, Austin was doing everything wrong and getting cheered for it. By early 1997, This wasn't a simple good guy versus bad guy story anymore. It was blurred. Bret saw himself as the hero fighting for wrestling's integrity. Austin saw himself as the future, tearing down the old guard. And the audience, they were split, or even leaning towards Austin. So when they finally set up the submission match at WrestleMania 13 with Ken Shamrock as the special referee, it wasn't just about settling a score. It was about proving which vision of wrestling and which man was going to define the company moving forward. That's what makes this feud so powerful. It's not just personal, it's philosophical. Old school versus new attitude. Respect versus rebellion. And neither guy was completely right, which is exactly why it worked. Alright, now the build up to WrestleMania 13 is where this rivalry really turns from a great feud into something legendary, because week by week, you can actually feel the audience and the company shifting under Bret and Stone Cold. After Bret beat Austin in the Survivor Series, most rivalries would cool off, but this one just kept boiling. Austin refused to let go. He kept attacking Bret verbally, calling him overrated, outdated, and ducking real competition. And the key here is Austin wasn't just ranting. He was backing it up by going after Bret any chance he got. Meanwhile, Bret starts getting pulled in a bunch of different directions. He's not just dealing with Austin, he's tangled up with guys like Psycho Sid and The Undertaker in the WWF title picture. That's important because Bret begins to feel like the system is working against him. He's trying to stay honorable, but everything around him is chaotic. Then comes the 1997 Royal Rumble, and this is a huge turning point. Austin gets eliminated, officially, but the referees don't see it. He sneaks back in and throws Bret over the top and steals the win. Bret is furious, and for good reason. From his perspective, he just got cheated out of a WrestleMania main event. The next night on Raw, Bret snaps. This is where his character really starts to crack. He goes on a tirade, not just against Austin, but against the referees, the company, even the fans. He's still calling himself the good guy, but now there's bitterness creeping in. You can hear it in his voice. He doesn't feel respected anymore. Austin, on the other hand, is thriving in the chaos. He doesn't care that he cheated. In his mind, he outsmarted everyone. And the crowd, they're starting to love him for it. Over the next few weeks, things get more intense and more physical. These aren't just matches, they're fights. Brawls backstage, attacks during interviews, constant interference. There's the sense that whenever Bret and Austin are in the same building, something is going to explode. WWF leans into that by announcing a submission match for WrestleMania 13 with Ken Shamrock as the special guest referee. That stipulation matters. It plays directly into Bret's strength as the excellent of execution, but also raises the stakes for Austin. He's not known as a submission guy, so now he has to survive Bret's world. And the storytelling gets really sharp here. Bret starts presenting himself as the last true wrestler. Someone who's going to make Austin quit and expose him. Austin, meanwhile, isn't trying to out-wrestle Bret. He's trying to out-fight him. He's basically saying, I don't have to be better technically. I just have to break you. By the time you get to WrestleMania, the crowd dynamic is completely flipped from what the WWF probably expected. Bret, the longtime hero, is getting mixed, sometimes even negative reactions. Austin, the rule-breaking aggressor, is getting louder and louder cheers. So the build isn't just about who's going to win, it's about tension on every level. Personal, stylistic, and even cultural within wrestling. You've got Bret clinging to what wrestling was, and Austin dragging it toward what it's about to become. And neither man is backing down an inch. What followed wouldn't just define their rivalry, it would redefine what a double turn looks like, and mark the moment the entire industry changed forever. When he arrived in WWE, things didn't click immediately either. The ringmaster gimmick, forgettable. But everything changed in 1996 at King of the Ring. After winning the tournament, Austin delivered the now iconic Austin 316 promo, and just like that, a character was born. Let's take it back to the moment everything changed. At this point, Austin was still finding his footing in the WWF. He had the talent, no doubt, but he wasn't the guy yet. That all changed in one night. Austin entered the King of the Ring tournament and fought his way through the bracket, eventually defeating Jake the Snake Roberts in the finals. But here's where things get interesting. It wasn't just the win that mattered. It's what happened after. Jake Roberts had been cutting promos filled with religious themes, talking about redemption and quoting scripture. So when Austin grabbed the microphone after his victory, he didn't just celebrate, he fired back. You got your John, you got your Psalms, you got your 316. Well, Austin 316 says, I just whooped your ass. That line hit like a lightning bolt. It was simple, it was raw, and it was completely different from anything else happening in wrestling at that time. No cartoonish character, no over-the-top gimmick, just attitude, confidence, and edge. And the crowd, you could feel the shift immediately. This wasn't just a promo. This was the beginning of something. From that moment on, Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't just another wrestler on the roster. He was becoming a movement. The anti-hero who didn't play by the rules, didn't care about authority, and said exactly what he wanted. What makes this moment even more incredible is that nobody fully realized at the time just how big it would become. But looking back at it, it's clear. King of the Ring 1996 wasn't just a tournament. It was the launch of the most iconic character of the Attitude Era. And everything that came after, the rivalries, the championships, the cultural impact, it all traces back to that one promo, that one line, and that one night where Austin 316 was born. So when you get to WrestleMania 13, the mindset of Stone Cold Steve Austin is completely different from anything WWF had really built a top guy around before. And that's what makes this so compelling to talk about. Austin isn't just walking into this match like a traditional challenger. He's not talking about respect. He's not talking about championships. And he's definitely not talking about proving he's the better technical wrestler than Bret Hart. That's not his game, and he knows it. What he's bringing in is attitude, pure defiance. All through the build, Austin makes it clear. He doesn't care if Bret is the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. In Austin's mind, that's exactly the problem. Bret represents everything Austin hates. Tradition, pride, and this idea that wrestling has a code he's supposed to follow. Austin's whole thing is breaking that code. And mentally, he's in a place where he almost welcomes the punishment. That's a huge part of his character going into this. The submission stipulation should put him at a disadvantage. Bret is one of the greatest technical wrestlers ever, but Austin flips that. His attitude is basically, you can twist me up however you want. I'm not quitting. That stubbornness becomes his weapon. There's also this chip on his shoulder that's been building for months. He feels like he's been overlooked, screwed over, and underestimated. Even when he wins, like at the Royal Rumble, it comes with controversy, and people use that to discredit him. So going into WrestleMania, this match isn't about climbing the ladder the right way. It's about forcing everyone to accept and respect him. And you can hear it in his promos at that time. He's not polished. He's not trying to be inspirational. It's raw. Almost like he's picking a fight with the entire company, not just Bret Hart. Another layer to Austin going into this is how the crowd is reacting to him. He's supposed to be the villain, but the fans are starting to rally behind him. Not because he's doing the right thing, but because he's doing things his way. That energy feeds into his mindset. It makes him more aggressive, more confident, more reckless. So when Austin walks into that match with Ken Shamrock as the referee, he's not thinking about outmaneuvering Bret. He's thinking about surviving him, outlasting him, and if it comes down to it, dragging Bret into a fight he's not comfortable with. Basically, he's saying, you can beat me, but you're not going to make me quit. And that right there, that refusal to break, is the core of who Steve Austin is going into WrestleMania 13. It's not about being the best wrestler in the ring. It's about being the toughest man in it. Now, to really understand Bret Hart going into WrestleMania 13, you've got to zoom out a bit. Because by this point, Bret isn't just another top guy. He's the standard of what WWF wrestling had been for years. Bret's career starts in the tag team ranks with the Hart Foundation, but once he breaks out on his own in the early 90s, he becomes something pretty unique for that era. While others were built on size and spectacle, Bret was built on credibility. Every hold looked real. Every match felt like a competition. That's how he earned his nickname, the excellence of execution. By the time you get to the mid-90s, Bret has already had classic rivalries with guys like Mr. Perfect, Shawn Michaels, and Diesel. He's been WWF champion multiple times, carried the company internationally, and in a lot of ways helped keep it afloat during a down period in the business. In his mind, and honestly, not unfairly, he is WWF. But by 1996, things start to shift. Bret takes time off after losing the title, and when he comes back later that year, the landscape feels different. The crowd is changing, the louder, more cynical, less interested in the pure technical style that made Bret the face of the company. And now there's this guy, Stone Cold Steve Austin, who doesn't respect anything. At first, Bret tries to stay who he's always been. He still believes in being the honorable competitor, the fighting champion, the guy who does things the right way, but the deeper we get into early 1997, the more that starts to crack. The Royal Rumble incident is huge for him. From Bret's perspective, he's robbed, plain and simple. Austin cheats, the referees miss it, and suddenly Bret's WrestleMania opportunity is gone. That hits him hard, because Bret isn't used to seeing himself as the victim. He's always been the one who overcomes. And this is where his mindset going into WrestleMania 13 really forms. He's frustrated, not just at Austin, but at everything. The officiating, the management, even the fans. There's this growing sense that the very audience he carried is turning on him. He's still calling himself the hero, but now there's an anger underneath it. He feels disrespected, underappreciated, and honestly, a little betrayed. So heading into the submission match, Bret leans even harder into what he does best. He's going to out-wrestle Austin, outclass him, and most importantly, make him quit. Because in Bret's mind, that's how you prove superiority. Not just by winning, but by breaking your opponent. But emotionally, he's not the same. There's an edge now, a bitterness. He's not just trying to win a match, he's trying to prove that his way of wrestling, his way of thinking, still matters in a world that feels like it's leaving him behind. And that tension, that internal conflict, is what makes Bret so fascinating going into WrestleMania. He still sees himself as the hero of the story. The problem is, fewer and fewer people agree with him. The promos between Bret Hart and Steve Austin going into WrestleMania weren't flashy in the traditional sense, but that's exactly why they worked. They felt real, tense, and very personal in a way WWE hadn't fully leaned into before. Bret Hart's promos during this build are some of the most important of his career. He wasn't just cutting promos, he was unraveling. After losing his cool in late 96 and early 97, Bret started blaming everyone. The fans, the commentators, the company itself. He talked about how he carried the WWF through its darkest days only to be disrespected by an audience that now cheered someone like Austin. His tone wasn't over the top, it was bitter, frustrated, and grounded. That made it believable. You could hear the shift. This wasn't the proud, honorable hitman anymore. This was a man who felt betrayed. Austin's promos, on the other hand, were raw and defiant. He didn't care about respect or tradition. He mocked Bret for whining and painted him as yesterday's news. Austin's delivery was sharp, direct, and laced with anti-authority edge that was just starting to catch fire. He'd call Bret out for making excuses, basically saying, "You're not the same guy anymore, and I'm here to prove it." Austin wasn't trying to be liked, he was being himself, and the crowd responded. What made these promos special is how they flipped the dynamic. Bret, the longtime hero, sounded like the villain. Austin, the supposed bad guy, felt honest, even when he was being a jerk. That tension carried through every exchange. They weren't trying to cut out things that were not meant to be. They weren't trying to out-entertain each other. They were trying to tear each other down. By the time they got to the submission match, the promos had already done the heavy lifting. You understood both sides. Bret believed he was right. Austin didn't care who was right. He just wanted a fight. That clash of ideologies made the match feel bigger than just a win or a loss. And when the bell rang, everything they said in those promos paid off. Now, let's get into it. If you are watching this match on Netflix, you want to start it at 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 14 seconds. If it's on YouTube, you start it at 3 minutes and 24 seconds in. Get it set up because the bell's about to ring. Okay, these two standing up in the corners now, staring each other down. This match has so much intensity built up to it, you can almost cut it with a knife. They're just getting set to lock up here. No matter how much this man has been screwed, he feels like he's still in charge. Oh, and there goes Austin, spearing him, pummeling him now with rights and lefts, hammering Bret Hart down into the cans. Bret rolls it over now. Bret's pretty good at this. He knows how to take control. Austin is not a submission wrestler, but he can beat you until you say, "I quit." And that's the only stipulation in this matchup, ladies and gentlemen. It's a submission match. Somebody is going to give in. There are no pinfalls. There are no submissions. You've got to quit to end the match. And all hell is breaking loose here between Austin and the Hitman. This is a war in Wrestlemania. I love it. Austin clipping the jaw, Bret Hart coming right back. Austin now into the steel ring post. Did you hear the smack of the flesh on that post? And that is going to shatter the cranium. Maybe it won't, but it could have hurt. Stone Cold is just trying to block this now. A block Bret, trying to take him right over that steel ring barrier. Now Austin landing Bret right down on his crotch, and there's a clothesline over the barrier into the crowd. Right out there in front of the Hall of Famers. There's Captain Lou Albano. There's Tony Atlas. Standing out of the way now. Unbelievable. Again, no countouts, no disqualifications. Shamrock trying to keep the people at bay, trying to make sure he hears someone say, "I quit." They're going right out into the crowd now. Oh my goodness, we can't even follow this all the way back. Austin grabbing a soda now, throwing it on Bret Hart and kicking him. This is brutal. A vicious, vile match. That's exactly what Austin wanted. Crowd screaming now. This is Austin's type of match right here. Although it's not submission. The Hitman Bret Hart. Oh no. What's he doing? Perhaps the most technically sound individual ever now. Austin trying to grab the drink tray from the vendor. Bret Hart's falling right into Stone Cold Steve Austin's game plan here. This resembles more of a bar fight than a wrestling match, to be honest. All up in the stands now. They're going through the crowd with some 18,000 fans watching. Where are they going? They don't care where they take this match. Bret Hart is venting months and months of frustration on Stone Cold Steve Austin here. These two men are beating and battering each other. Rights by Bret Hart now. Hitman trying to gain control. This is what WrestleMania is all about. Headbutt by the Hitman. Bret Hart going at it. Steve Austin now. Stone Cold has him. Stone Cold has Bret hooked up from our vantage point. Tries to get him up and jam him. Whoa. Body slam now to the concrete floor. Bret Hart just dropped Austin right there in the bleachers. Down the steps they go. Shamrock trying to bring him back. There's security holding the fans back. Taking it to the streets, so to speak, which is what we're going to see later on. Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Ken Shamrock following right behind. This is a war, folks. It's like a free-for-all out there. They don't care about wrestling holds. They just want to beat each other into submission. Taking out all the frustration now. Bret having been screwed all these many months, all these many times. Climbing the ring barrier now. Bret Hart with Stone Cold. Look at this. Look at this. Down comes the Hitman. There we see a replay now of Austin throwing Hitman over that barricade. We're back in the corral area here. Stone Cold Steve Austin into the steel ring steps. These men have spent about 30 seconds in the ring so far and several minutes outside just beating the living hell out of each other. Austin now measuring his prey. Bret has been in this many times before. Look at Stone Cold there. Bret's never been in it like this. He has never taken a beating like this before. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart taking apart the steel ring steps. Austin has him up with those steel ring steps. Oh, Bret counters and drops Austin with the steel ring steps on top of him. No holds barred submission match. Rights now. Whoa, look at Bret wail away. I don't know who's going to survive this. I don't know who's going to win this. I don't think either individual is going to be a winner after this because the toll that's already been taken on both bodies, ladies and gentlemen, is too much for any one individual to come out a winner. Somebody may come out on the losing end, but nobody is going to be a winner here. They're paying the supreme price for this matchup. Their bodies are both going to be ravaged with pain now. Austin trying to break Bret's hand, stomping on it. And now the Bret comes in with a reverse neck breaker. What a swinging neck breaker that was, and Bret just wrenched the neck of Austin. And if Bret Hart loses this match, you wonder what he's going to come up with as an excuse. Because he'll have one, in my view. No doubt about it. All Bret's been doing for months now is making excuses for himself. It's too bad, such a great technician. So distracted, so conflicted. Be that as it may, Bret Hart now ripping that hamstring, perhaps setting the injured knee on Steve Austin up for the sharpshooter. You know it's bound to come sooner or later. And again, Bret Hart going for that injured knee. Ripped down across that brace. Steve Austin was out of action for several weeks with a knee injury. He just got cleared to go. He's virtually 100%, but he may not be 100% for long. Hitman now working on that leg. And Steve Austin just giving a resounding no to Ken Shamrock, who asked him whether he wants to submit, whether or not he wants to stay in it. There is no quit in Steve Austin. A methodical, physical dissection of the lower anatomy here by Dr. Bret Hart on the last patient, Stone Cold Steve Austin. And you would hope that maybe after this match, maybe the Hitman Bret Hart would settle down and return to the great legacy that he had before. Maybe something hopefully would bring him back to his senses and stop his whining. He's blaming the commentators. He's blaming the fans for his own downfall. This is where Bret gets great. You can see it unfolding here before your own eyes. Oh, and he missed dropping down on that leg. It's like giving yourself an atomic drop. Oh, and a DDT. But remember, pinfalls don't count. Pinfalls don't count at all. You got to be careful, Stone Cold. If you don't knock Bret Hart out, you won't get him to submit. Stone Cold now, favoring that leg. He's trying to get away from Bret Hart. If Bret Hart's knocked out, the referee has to stop it. That's easy. Stone Cold, oh no, he kicked that leg right out from under Austin. That knee, that left knee now, I don't know how much more Austin can take. I'll tell you one thing, Stone Cold is gutsy though. How well would a one-legged man do in an ass-kicking contest? Let's find out. Bret Hart can get the sharpshooter on Steve Austin. Oh, he's dragging Austin out now. He's wrapping his legs around the ring post for a figure four leg lock. Bret Hart, he's locking in a figure four leg lock with Stone Cold's legs wrapped around that ring post. Steve Austin now writhing in pain. Listen to the capacity crowd cheering. Ken Shamrock right there to see and hear if Stone Cold submits. That's not going to happen. Austin breaks that hold somehow. He won't give up, not even after that. Imagine the kind of pain Austin was in. Bone-chilling pain perpetrated by Bret Hart in that unique figure four leg lock. Bret can twist on Stone Cold's leg all he wants until it looks like the Chicago White Sox Robin Ventura taking a swing for a home run. He will not submit to the Hitman. That's the bottom line. Somebody's going to have to submit. Oh no, Bret Hart now grabbing the ring bell, taking it into the ring. Going back now, grabbing a chair from Howard Finkel. That chair didn't work. Let's grab another one. I like blue better. Bret Hart is bringing that chair into the ring, which actually, from a technical standpoint, this is legal. He's going to put that on his ankle. Look at, he's locking the ankle inside the steel chair. He did the same thing to Austin before. I can't believe this place is going nuts. Now Bret going up to the top rope. Austin now out, has that chair down across the head. This is WrestleMania, baby. He swung that chair like David Ortiz going for the Green Monster. Again now, bringing that chair down onto Bret's back. Bret's now feeling the pain. Austin said he was going to beat the hell out of Bret Hart, and that's what he's doing here right now with that steel. Stone Cold with Bret the Hitman Hart. Now Bret into the buckle. Stone Cold in control for the moment. Picking up Bret now. Stone Cold, what's he going to do with him? Suplex gets him down. More punishment on that back. Watch this. Here we go again. With that steel chair. That was one shot. Here's another. That's exactly what you find in the WWF here. Two athletes, ladies and gentlemen, giving it everything they can. Off the top rope now with an elbow to Bret. This is about athleticism. A hell of a fight between two great athletes. And Stone Cold stood with a kick right there to the lower abdominal area. This fan can hardly watch. Bret's daughter. That was Bret's daughter watching her daddy get beat to hell. Russian leg sweep now, actually much like Bret Hart. And wait, Here we go, Steve Austin now. Steve Austin with a submission hold, looking to break Bret's neck here. Austin trying to disjoint that arm. I want to hear it snap. Break it, Steve. Break it. Tear that arm right off. Ken Shamrock now checking in, seeing if Bret wants to submit. She doesn't, that little girl doesn't want to see her dad punished, but that's what's happening right here. Steve Austin has got control back, and there was a look of concern on Stu Hart's face. Even Stu woke up for this match. Boston Crab coming, very elemental, very basic, very lethal, and very, very effective here. Weighing down, putting all that pressure on Bret's back. Bret saying no. He's in the middle of the ring. Austin rearing back for all he's worth, and the hitman Bret Hart not surrendering at the moment, trying to turn towards the ropes. Keep the camera on his mouth. I want to see him say, I quit. He's trying to get closer to that bottom rope, trying to reach it. He's got that bottom rope now. He does. Austin has to break the hold. Shamrock getting right there in Austin's face. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Ken. He may be lacking in sportsmanship sometimes, but he knows how to wrestle. He is no coward. Look at this now. Look at this. Are we going to see Austin putting... Oh, no. He was going to put Bret Hart in his own move, the sharpshooter, but he got out of it with a thumb to the eye. Thought for a moment we were going to see the hitman submit to his very own hold. Imagine having the humiliation of submitting to a hold that you invented. Steve Austin now may put it on Bret Hart as well, but Bret Hart coming back with rights to the midsection, trying to erase last year's battle with Stone Cold at the Royal Rumble. Austin threw Bret right out in front of the Hart family now. The whole contingent from Calgary is here cheering Bret on. Inside, outside, it doesn't matter. Look out now. Austin thrown into those chairs. Timekeeper is down. Austin took everybody out when he went crashing into that barricade. Now Bret Hart punching Austin right over into the announce position and the timekeeper's table, dragging him out now. Right down into that barrier. Bret Hart humiliating Stone Cold, smashing him right into the barrier in front of his family, and now Austin is bleeding. He's bleeding all over that mat. Blood is pouring profusely from Austin's forehead. You saw right there where Austin hit his head. Now, face first into the steel ring steps. Austin is a bloody mess here. Stone Cold's been busted wide open. Bret Hart, ladies and gentlemen, keep trying to capitalize on this, and if this continues, this would be a reason for Ken Shamrock to stop this thing. I guarantee you, if Ken Shamrock stops this match without a submission, Stone Cold Steve Austin will attempt to kill him. But in essence, JR, that would be a submission if he did. He is busted wide open. Bret Hart now sensing the end that could be near. Let's see how sadistic Bret Hart will be. Look at him. He's like a shark going right for the blood. Look at it. He's pounding his fist into that wound. Bret Hart hammering away. Austin sitting up. Bret Hart wanted this match. Here he is. He's going to erase perhaps what happened at the Royal Rumble, how he lost. The hitman Bret Hart now. It's not about titles this year. Off the second rope with a knee to Austin's head. This is about submission. Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Some of this is really going to be uncalled for. Only a coward would use a chair like this. Right on the leg, right on the knee brace. On the knee brace of Stone Cold. Now Bret Hart hammering away like an animal out of control. Hart is trying to break Austin's leg, throwing away the chair now. Bret locking him into the sharpshooter. And this one is going to be history soon. I'm not sure if Austin can get out of this. Oh, grabbing a handful of hair, rake to the face now. Austin breaks the hold momentarily. Stone Cold Steve Austin still in this match. Look at how much blood Austin is losing. He has got to be getting weaker. And again, the official has the right to call this match. We have doctors in attendance at ringside to attend to them if they need to. Stone Cold Steve Austin, despite being lacerated there, Stone Cold Steve Austin is still in this match. He didn't lose his wits. Oh no. Oh, that was a low blow that dropped Bret Hart right to the match. How are the family jewels right now, Bret? Again, in this match, ladies and gentlemen, as we stated before, there are no rules. Neither individual can be disqualified. Neither individual can be counted out. This match will take its toll on both of these men. Austin now back on his feet. Austin like a stud. And look at that. Austin with whip into the buckle. Sternum first into the buckle. And now Austin is ready to rock and roll. Austin with Bret Hart reusing the buckle. Austin now repeatedly kicking into the chest area. Steve Austin is one tough SOB. Pummeling Bret Hart. Middle fingers now. There you go, Bret. There's another kick. Ken Shamrock checking on Bret. I wouldn't blame either one of them if they quit right now. So much has been given. Stone Cold Steve Austin setting Bret Hart up on the top rope. What is he going to do with him up here? What is Stone Cold going to do? Bret Hart almost helpless at this moment. Stone Cold with the Hitman. Bret Hart for the ride. What a suplex off the top rope. But Austin fell in the back of his head as well. Remember, no pinfalls, no DQs. The match can only end. Oh, look at the crimson mask of an Austin. This is unfortunate. This does not happen often in a match where you see this much blood. But this is a no-holds-barred match. Austin and Bret Hart are going at it. Austin comes to the outside, grabbing the cables. Austin with the microphone cord now. I hope that's not a live wire. Oh, no, he's wrapping it. He's wrapping it around Bret's neck. He's wrapping that cord around Bret's neck. He's going to choke out Bret Hart here. This could be a submission. This could be the submission. Now Bret with that ring bell off of Austin's head. Bret would have been hung there like he was in the Old West. What a war this is, folks. Stone Cold Steve Austin to his feet. Bret Hart grabbing both feet now. Locking in that sharpshooter in the center of the ring. He's got it. He's turning him over. Bret Hart has it turned over. The sharpshooter. He's got it in. Austin can't reach the ropes. This is Bret Hart's move. The crowd cheering. And why? Who would blame Steve Austin for giving up here? Shaking his head, screaming, come on, say the word, give up, Shamrock says. The blood pouring from the forehead of Stone Cold Steve Austin now. Say it, say it. He continues to resist. Continues to resist the pain. The people are standing. Can you imagine the pain that is rushing through Austin's body here? And the blood spurting from the temple. Steve, he's going. Austin's losing blood. He may be losing consciousness. Austin trying to get one more rush of adrenaline. The blood is pouring out. Austin trying to come out of this. It's not a pretty sight here. Stone Cold Steve Austin, impossible. He's doing the impossible. Nobody's ever done this. Nobody's ever broken the sharpshooter, and he just did. Austin broke the sharpshooter, or did he? No, no, Bret Hart still has it in. I thought he broke out of it. Austin trying to reach that rope, trying to reach for the ropes. Steve Austin will not surrender. He will not submit. Bret Hart has the sharpshooter locked in. He has beaten every superstar with this. Austin, don't give up. How? How is Austin still in it? I don't understand the intestinal fortitude this man has. Shamrock's stopping it. Shamrock is stopping it. That's it. Stone Cold Steve Austin has passed out from the pain. Austin is unconscious. I have never seen this. Austin never gave up, but he passed out from the pain. Austin is out, and Bret the Hitman Hart has defeated one of the gutsiest individuals ever in the World Wrestling Federation. I can tell you this, I've never seen a display of intestinal fortitude like we saw with Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is unconscious and quite frankly needs medical attention right now. Bret Hart standing on the ropes, celebrating. This is going to be a tough act to follow, I'll tell you that. Get some doctors out here for him. We need doctors down here now. Austin is out cold, folks. Austin is out. And that's how this match ended, ladies and gentlemen. What a finish. Austin never gave up, but Shamrock had to end it because Austin was unconscious. Coming out of WrestleMania 13, the aftermath of Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin is one of those rare moments where a single match doesn't just end a feud, it reshapes the entire company narrative. Because technically, Bret wins the match. He makes Austin pass out in the sharpshooter. On paper, that should solidify Bret as the top guy, the superior wrestler, the man who proved his point. But that's not what people remember. What people remember is Austin refusing to quit, bleeding, trapped, fading, but never giving Bret the satisfaction. And in that moment, the audience flips completely. Austin walks out of that match a made man, not as a traditional hero, but as something new. The anti-hero the fans are behind. And Bret walks out to a different reaction because of what happens after the bell. Instead of taking the win and moving on, Bret keeps attacking Austin. There's anger there, almost desperation. It's like winning wasn't enough. He needed to punish Austin, to prove something beyond the result. And that's the moment where the audience really turns on him. The guy who always stood for honor and respect is now lashing out. And it doesn't sit right. From there, Bret leans fully into that frustration. Over the next few weeks on TV, you see him unravel even more. He starts openly criticizing the fans in the United States, saying they've turned their backs on him. This leads directly into the formation of the Hart Foundation with Owen Hart, Jim Neidhart, British Bulldog, and Brian Pillman. What's fascinating is how WWF presents it. They're heroes in Canada, but villains in the US. That layered storytelling starts here in this fallout from this match. Meanwhile, Austin is on a completely different trajectory. Even though he lost, he's elevated big time. The visual of him passing out in his own blood becomes iconic. It's replayed, talked about, and it's cemented him as the toughest guy in the company. From here, he moves into bigger rivalries, including his ongoing issues with Bret's family, and eventually the rise toward his clashes with The Undertaker, and later, Mr. McMahon. This match was the first match inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame Immortal Moments. And watching this match, you see why. This is really the birth of the Stone Cold era. So the aftermath isn't clear. It's not winner moves on and loser rebuilds. It's a double turn. Bret, the longtime hero, becomes bitter and the antagonist, while Steve Austin, the rule-breaking brawler, becomes the guy the fans rally behind. And that shift, that's the spark that helps ignite the Attitude Era. And from one match where technically the wrong guy won, but the right guy got made. Coming out, Bret Hart doesn't just move on to another feud, he transforms. What you start to see immediately after this match is Bret fully leaning into the frustration that had been bubbling for months. The post-match attack on Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't a one-off moment. It was the beginning of a completely different version of Bret Hart. More aggressive, more bitter, and a lot less concerned with being the moral compass of the company. In the weeks that follow, Bret's promos take a sharp turn. He starts calling out the American fans directly, saying they've turned their backs on him after everything he's done for them. And what's interesting is he doesn't see himself as the villain. In his mind, he's justified. He's the same Bret Hart. It's everyone else who's changed. That mindset leads straight into the formation of the new foundation. Bret aligns with Owen, Jim, Davey, and Brian, creating a unit that's built around loyalty, family, and a shared resentment of how they're being treated. And this is where things get really unique. In the US, Bret and the Hart Foundation are presented as heels, arrogant, anti-American, constantly complaining. But in Canada, they're heroes, loudly cheered, embraced, almost like defenders of national pride. WWF leans into that dynamic hard, and Bret becomes this rare character who's not universally one thing or the other, depending on where he is. From a storyline standpoint, Bret keeps circling back to Austin as well. Their rivalry doesn't end at WrestleMania. It escalates. You get more chaos, more brawling, and eventually big, multi-man matches that build toward the summer, including the Canadian Stampede event, where the Hart Foundation stands tall on home soil. But there's also another layer building in the background. Tension with Shawn Michaels. That rivalry had history already, and now it's getting more personal, more real, and more volatile. So where does Bret go after this match? He goes from being the symbol of what WWF was to one of the most complex, divisive, and emotionally charged characters the company had ever seen. Not a clean hero, not a simple villain, but a man who feels like the world turned on him and he's not going to stay quiet. Stone Cold Steve Austin is in one of the most unique spots you'll ever see. He lost the match, but he's the hottest thing in the company, and WWE knows it immediately. The night after WrestleMania, Austin doesn't come out celebrating or even really acknowledge the loss. Instead, he doubles down on being exactly who he is, angry, defiant, and unwilling to play by anyone's rules. When Bret Hart tries to continue asserting dominance, Austin fights back anyway. Even after everything he went through, that tells the audience right away, nothing about him has changed, except now they're fully behind him. From there, Austin's momentum just explodes. He's still tied up with Bret and now the entire Hart Foundation. Austin isn't the instigator anymore. He's the lone wolf fighting off a group. That actually elevates him more. It makes him feel tougher, more dangerous, and more resilient. As 1997 rolls on, Austin starts to drift away from being just Bret Hart's rival and becomes something bigger. Someone who clashes with authority itself. That's where his issues with Vince McMahon begin to take shape. At first, it's subtle, but you can feel it building. Austin doesn't respect the boss, doesn't follow orders, and doesn't care about consequences. That tension becomes the backbone of WWF going into 1998. By the time you get to early 98, Austin wins the Royal Rumble again, earns a WWF title shot at then WrestleMania 14. He defeats Shawn Michaels to become WWF champion for the first time. And that's the payoff. Everything that started in that WrestleMania match, the refusal to quit, the connection with the audience, the anti-hero energy, it all leads to Austin becoming the face of the company. Not the clean-cut hero like before, but a rebellious, unpredictable champion who changes what a top star looks like. So where does Austin go after WrestleMania 13? He goes from being a rising star to the guy, the centerpiece of the Attitude Era, the one the fans rally behind, the one who doesn't just play the game, he flips it upside down. Now that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. That's it for this watch along. I'm Just In Case. I'll catch you next time. If you have questions, comments, concerns, issues, please email me at watchalongwithjustincase@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Hope to see you again next week.